Okay, so you're welcome, everybody. Today we will be looking at 7 tools that will help us in correcting misbehaviors in our children. 7 behavior modification tools. Very quickly, number one is the relaxation technique, and that is for you, the parent. Now, this is essentially important because you cannot change inappropriate behaviors in your children from a place of chaos. You have to be calm. Yes, I know that children can frustrate you to the point where you begin to scream and you just want to, pour out all the frustrations on them. If you do that, you end up walking in circles. You're just going to be going around in circles because children will continue to frustrate you the more. So the first thing you have to do is to take care of factors that are stressing you and then learn calming technique. When a child has pushed you to your limits, the first thing you should do is to calm yourself down. Practice counting exercise. You can tell them to leave your presence for the time being so that you do not overreact. That is the first thing. Number two is the pre-correction stage. Now, for this program, because like I said, correcting misbehaviors in your children is a process. I said that in the previous video. It's a process. But you have to let your child or your children in on the entire process, right? You don't just wake up and say, I want to correct misbehaviors. You have to let the child know. So when I say pre-correction stage, you explain to the child so that you can get the child's cooperation. Remember I said in the previous video that you take the misbehavior you want to correct, let's say lying or a child that is always fighting with the siblings, you write it down one at a time, and then the replacement behavior that you want the child to replace with that bad behavior. There must be a replacement behavior. You don't stop a misbehavior and then without introducing a replacement behavior. Okay, so you write the replacement behavior as well. A child that lies, you want the child to become more comfortable with you. You want the child to be relaxed and to always tell you the truth when they misbehave, when they do something wrong. They should own up to you truthfully. That's what you want. So you're going to tell the child that this is what I want to achieve. I do not like the way you lie. I don't like the way I have to beat you, and punish you. So I want you to put a stop to it. And we are running through this process together. So let the child in so that you can get the child's cooperation. Tell the child of your expectations so that you're working together. That's number two. Number three is you have to have a behavior contract. When I say a behavior contract, get the child, it may sound funny, but it works, right? You have told the child what you want. You want the child to stop lying. You want the child to stop fighting. You want the child to stop giving you headaches in the morning when you're preparing for school so that you don't get late for work because this child doesn't want to cooperate, right? And then you've told the child what you want to do. Write it down. Especially if it's an older child, write it down and then get the child to sign and place it where the child can be seeing it every time. It serves as a constant reminder. Okay, you writing it down, then you tell the child, okay, I want you to sign. It may look funny, but it works. The child seeing it every time is a constant reminder for the child. You can stick it on the child's door. You can stick it, in fact, you should have more than one copy. Okay, there's one in the bathroom, there's one in the toilet, there's one when the child is about to enter the room, there's one, just stick it everywhere where the child can see it. So when the child is going into the room, the child is saying, I have promised my mom, I've promised my dad, I'm not going to lie. The child is in the toilet and he's checking on the door, he's saying it on, I promised my dad on so day that I will stop lying and I'll become truthful. The child is going to the kitchen to take his food. He sees it on the door. I promise. So it serves as a constant reminder for the child that this behavior, I need to put a stop to it. So that is a behavior contract. It is a very important tool and it works a whole lot, right? The child sees it every time. And you tell the child, every time the child passes and he sees it, tell the child to read it out. Okay, the child says, I, John, saying, I have promised my mom, I have promised my dad that I am not going to tell lies. I will always tell the truth. I will always own up when I do what is wrong. So it is a constant reminder that child continues to say, it says it multiple times in a day. So it sticks. Because a lot of times when children misbehave or they promise you that they are going to do better and they end up still misbehaving, it's because they have forgotten, right? Or they were not able to commit it to memory, they have forgotten. So this will help a lot in reminding the child. Number four is timeout. Number four tool that we use in behavior modification is timeout. Not the way people do timeout. When they say timeout, some people will just say, go to that corner, not a corner, go to that corner and go and stay there for 10 minutes. It doesn't change anything in children, I'm sorry to say. It doesn't change anything. It may work for little children, but a lot of times it doesn't change anything. Timeout, yes, the child is going to a corner, but it has to be for self-reflection. If you want your child to begin to behave well, right? A lot of times parents say, I don't have time. If you should disturb me, I will flog him. You can continue to flog, but one thing you should know is that if you start flogging a child from age 3, you always have reasons to flog that child even till when that child is 16. You're just going to keep flogging and flogging and flogging. Well, you can get your child to the point where even you yourself, you will have peace of mind. If you get your child to the point where the child can begin to self-regulate, even at 8 years old, at age 8, age 7, age 9, these children, you just find out that misbehaviors will just begin to go down on their own. Even if you carry out this behavior modification for just one behavior, you will find out that by the time you are able to get this child to key into this program with you, it gets to a point that for every other misbehavior, the child will begin to self-reflect. And you just find out that your child begins to act better automatically. You will start shouting less. You will start stressing less. You will start flogging less. The whole idea is to get your child to the point where you don't even have to bring the cane anymore. Your child has self-regulated. So number 4 is timeout. This is how you do timeout effectively. For me, especially in school, in our timeout corner, there's always a book, right? There's a pen. When you go to the timeout corner, you are going to tear one piece out of the book and then you will write by yourself, especially for older children that can write. For children that cannot write, you're going to ask them to tell you verbally. Number 1, let the child write what he has done wrong. Let him write it on a piece of paper. This will help the child to self-reflect, right? It's not about you have done it, come here, quack, quack, quack. It's about having a child that is able to, activate his common sense, whether you are there or not. That is the point where we need to get our children to. Let the child write out what he has done wrong. What did you do? Write it down. Number 2, why do you think it is wrong? Write 3 reasons why you believe what you did is wrong. If you think it is not wrong, write it down. Write 3 reasons why you feel it is not wrong. Because some children can be very funny. Especially when you are dealing with smart children. They will tell you I didn't do anything wrong. If you say you didn't do anything wrong, go and write it down and give us 3 reasons why you feel that this thing that you've done is the appropriate thing to do. Write how it benefits you and how it benefits every other person around you. Write it down. If the child is not on that level, let the child just write out what the child feels he has done wrong. And then let the child write the consequences that he believes that he deserves by himself. Right, so the child is going to write it, and then when the child brings it, you sit the child down and you begin to analyze. This way you are activating your children's common sense. It's not just about punishment. You are activating your child. You are getting your child to the point where they think before they act. Now, after that, consequences have to follow, which is number 5. There will be consequences, because a lot of times when we say that flogging children or taking children on this behavior modification program, a lot of people believe that it is you excusing children or letting children get away with misbehaviors. No. Number 5 tool that you need is consequences. There must be consequences for misbehaviors, right? You get the child, and consequences can be either logical consequences or natural consequences. Let your consequences be reasonable and let the consequences commensurate with the offense. Number six is one of my favorite, which is the points program. It works a lot. Now, here's how you run a points program for your child. A point program is you tell the child, since you have gotten the behavior contract, the child already knows that we're working together to make me a better person. Okay, so you get a chart or a paper and you write for every time the child behaves well, for every time the child tells the truth, for every time the child washes the dishes without you reminding them, for every time they do what is expected of them, which is the particular behavior you're trying to correct, for every time they do it well, they get a point. You can decide that, you can tell the child that if you are able to get 25 points in a week, I will give you, you get a gift, right? Now, so for every time the child behaves well, it's probably 5 points or 2 points. Or you can tell the child, if you're able to get 50 points in a week, I will give you a gift, okay? You can make it monthly, but it's always good if you don't drag it for too long so that the child is looking forward to it, right? Whatever behavior you reward will increase. So if you reward good behaviors in your children, it will increase. If you encourage your child to tell the truth at all times and you reward it, the child will tell more truths. If the child does the dishes without being reminded and you reward the child will do it more. Okay, so you do that, and every week at the end of the day, you sit together, you analyze, you mark the, check the point. If it meets up to the expected point, then the child gets a reward. Now, rewards don't have to be money. I do not even encourage you to give children or teenagers money, right? Especially not every time. Reward could be you take the child out. Reward could be you buy the child a storybook. Reward could be you buy the child a favorite toy. Reward could be that you take a walk with the child, you stroll in the community. You know what your child likes, so I'm not going to be specific on what reward is. Reward could mean that the child gets double his snacks maybe on Monday and Tuesday the next week. Reward could be that the child gets extra pieces of meat for the entire week. You know, reward could just be anything, but majorly reward shouldn't be money so that it doesn't look as though you are paying your children for good behaviors. But this point program works all the time. And another way it works better is place the chart where the child can see it. So anytime the child acts well, you go there, you tick it, you add a point, 5 marks. So I promise you, if you do this every day, the child is going there to be counting his marks. 5, 10, 15, 20. So I have 4 more to go. I have 4 more to go before I get a gift next week. I have 5 more to go before I get. Trust me, it works a whole lot for children. Children are always looking forward to the reward every week. Now, another question I get is parents who say, is this how I'm going to be doing it every day? No. Remember, it takes, if you do it for a few weeks, before you know, it becomes a habit. Once you are able to do it for a few weeks, a month, 2 months, before you know, that behavior becomes a habit, and gradually you can begin to replace your reward with other things. But the whole idea essentially is for you to be able to start or to make it a habit in your child. But you have to do it long enough so that it sticks. Another thing about the point program is that there must be a response cost. Response cost in the sense that if the child, you have told the child, don't let me remind you before you wash the plates. The child has done 4, and then the next day you have to remind the child, you take out 1 point. Or you tell the child, if I have to remind you twice, okay, sometimes if you have to do, when you do it without reminding, I give you a point. If you wait for me to remind you, I take out 1 point. The child may end up not having any point at all, and it may be discouraging. So you tell the child that I mustn't remind you more than twice in a week. If I remind you more than twice or more than once, I'm going to take away 5 points. Okay, that's a response cost. Okay, so in your points program, there must be a response cost. As the child is gaining points, if he misbehaves, you can also include it that if you misbehave, I'm going to remove 5 marks from your overall point. But this shouldn't come at the beginning of the points program. Let the child get used to the privileges, let the child enjoy some privileges. So he's always looking forward to it. And then when you now introduce a response cost, the child will do everything to avoid it. Okay, because if you introduce it at the beginning, it may not serve its purpose. But somewhere along the line, after some few weeks, you can introduce a response cost. This method helps a whole lot in modifying children's behaviors, and it works for teenagers as well. Works a whole lot for teenagers, especially if you have gotten them to sign the behavior contract with you. For teenagers, you can ask them, what would you like as your reward? Ask them and let them give you a list of what they would like as a reward. A list, because if you ask them for just one or two, teenagers can be very generous when it comes to themselves. Okay, they can give you very massive things. So just ask them to give you like 5 or 10 things that they would want as rewards when they behave well, and you pick two and then you work with those two so that they don't put you in debt. Number 7, which is the last one, is for you to create daily schedules for your children, especially for lazy children, especially for teenagers that don't want to they don't want to receive instructions from anybody. You tell them what to do, they are grumpy, they are dragging their feet. There's no need going back and forth. Just create a daily schedule for them. A daily schedule is a timetable of everything a child is supposed to do in a day. Say when you come back from school by 5, you have 10 minutes to rest and take off your school uniform, or 15 minutes to rest, take off your school uniform and bathe. Probably from 4:30 to 4:45 they can do that. From 4:45 to 5:15 maybe they are doing their homework, or 5:30 they are doing their homework. From 5:30 to 6 they are doing the house chores, or 6:30, and all of that. Depending on your family dynamics, you can create a daily schedule, based on how your family is, or how your daily routine is in your family. Daily schedules are very good. They help in getting children to be up and doing. They help in getting children to stick to schedules without being reminded. And if they do it long enough, if you're consistent, it becomes a habit. So you don't have to start reminding the child, have you done your homework? Have you washed your school uniform? Have you washed the dishes? Have you swept your room? Have you done this? Have you done that? The child knows everything that is meant to be on the timetable every day. So the child is going there, checks the timetable, and he goes to do it. And there must be consequences attached, so that if the child deliberately decides not to do, or to skip, or to disregard the daily schedule, there must be consequences. Because if there are no consequences, it will not work. You are just going to stick the timetable on the wall, and the children are just going to be walking past it, and it will not work. So here are the 7 behavior tools that we use. There are several behavior tools, but we start with the 7 and see the progress with your children. I promise you, if you can be consistent with this for a few weeks, you will most certainly see improvement. And another thing I must add is social stories. Stories are amazing in changing behaviors in children. Tell stories that have moral values, stories that teach moral values. They go a long way. We had a lot of that, and it helped in shaping our character. So try to inculcate bedtime stories, 9 stories to your children. It works a lot. Okay, so here is a quick recap of all the behavior modification tools that I've shared here. Number 1 is the relaxation technique, meaning you, the parent, you have to parent from a place of calm. You cannot react to every situation with anger, so that you don't overreact. You don't do things you will regret. You don't injure your children. And when you react with anger, a lot of times it doesn't help in teaching the children better ways to behave. You're just going to come down hard on your children, and you will satisfy your anger. That's the only thing you're going to achieve. You're just going to satisfy, please your anger, and that's where it ends. It may not benefit the child in the long run. Number 2 is the pre-correction stage. Explain to the child what you're embarking on, the entire program, what it's all about, so that you can get the child to cooperate with you. You and the child can be on the same page, and the child knows the expectations. A child that lies, he knows that, okay, you want him to be free with you, you want him to trust you enough to come and talk to you whenever he misbehaves. He should own up, right? You want your child, you're tired of always telling the child, go and wash plates, go and wash your uniform. Have you swept the floor? Have you done your homework? You're tired. You just want the child to begin to do these things by themselves. So make sure that you get the child to be on the same page with you. That's a pre-correction stage number 2. Number 3 is the behavior contract. Yes, get a behavior contract of the expectation. Let the child sign, and you stick it where the child can see every time the child is reading it. My mom wants me to always say the truth. My dad wants me to be more proactive and not reactive. I should do things without being told, and all of that. Number 4 is the timeout, and we talked about the better way to do timeouts. Timeout should be for self-reflection. The child should be able to say what he did, why it is wrong, what the consequences should be, and what he ought to have done better. Right? What is the right thing he should have done instead of that irrational behavior that he did. That's how you do timeout. Number 5 is the point program. Okay, number 5 is consequences. Consequences should be logical and natural consequences. Don't exempt children. And when a child misbehaves, the consequences should follow almost immediately. If you are so angry, you can tell the child to leave your presence for a while, but not too long. Within the same hour, you get back, and the child faces consequences for the action. Number 6 is the point program, like I said, which is one of my favorites, where the child gets to score points for um, behaving well or for doing the appropriate or the replacement behavior without being told. The child gets points, and then there's a reward probably at the end of the week or at the end of the month, but I always advise at the end of the week. Number 7, and for the points program, there should be a response cost after some weeks. Number 7 is the daily routines. Yes, daily schedule. Create a daily schedule for a child where the child knows what he or she is supposed to do. Everything is written in the daily schedule with time attached to it. So without anybody reminding the child knows what is expected. Does it mean we are raising robots? No. We are trying to create new behaviors in the children. We're trying to create, what do we call it? We're trying to get the child to the point where he can self-regulate and is acting by himself without anybody telling him, go and do this, go and do that. This is not what you should do. This is not where you should be. And a whole lot of that. And then lastly, we looked at social stories and allegories. A lot of times I hear people who say our parents flogged us and our senses were correct. If you know all the tools that our parents used in raising us, you are not going to say this confidently. If you remember, majority of those are storybooks about the tortoise, the antelope, the old farmer, the villager. All of these stories had moral endings, moral lessons, right? It's either was talking about greed, was talking about disobedience and the consequences. These were some of the things that shaped our character. But what you find out these days, a lot of children are just in front of the cartoons. Cartoons do not teach these children anything about morals. I dare say that a lot of these cartoons are even teaching these children to be rebellious and aggressive. So try as much as possible to tell your children more social stories with moral lessons, allegories for teenagers. These things help a lot in shaping a child's character. So this is where we draw the curtains for behavior modification tools. I am Faith Benjamin, a parent coach and a child development advocate. My head is filled with behavior modification, and that's what I was just going to say. Thank you so much for being a part of this program.